Hello, lyric theorist fans of The Weeknd. My name is Clifford Stummy. I'm the pop song professor. Welcome to my channel where we are all about helping you guys to understand your music. And if you are a fan of deeper meanings in your music, you've come to the right place. And today we are talking about Wicked Games by The Weeknd. We are just talking about the song lyrics, and I happen to think that this is really, really good. A lot of you guys have suggested this song over the past several months, and it's finally time to just jump in and do it. This is one of The Weeknd's more popular older songs, and it's definitely worth looking at because we see a lot of the themes that we're going to hear about later in Beauty Behind the Madness, particularly, I think, in The Hills. The song is essentially about The Weeknd having broken up with or being unhappy with his girlfriend, and so he goes to the strip club or hires a prostitute and just hangs out with her and tries to build self-confidence while he's high and having sex with her. He tries to get her to tell him that she loves him. So maybe he's trying to get her to fall in love with him, and if he can do that, he really will feel that confidence. But in any case, does it work? Well, we will answer that question as we jump into the song. As always, I want to remind you real quick that this video is brought to you by patrons on my Patreon. You guys are wonderful. Thank you so much for helping me. And we have some cool podcasts coming for you behind the scenes soon. Oh, and if you comment a song by The Weeknd that you want to hear me explain and then upvote songs by The Weeknd that you also want to hear me explain, top upvoted comment has a very good chance of being explained next Wednesday. It is going to be the Weeknd Wednesday after all. All right, but let's take a look at Wicked Games. And I've highlighted several lyrics that I want to particularly take a look at. I left my girl back home, I don't love her no more. So this is about him, breaking up with his girlfriend or not telling her that he's going to break up with her, or just saying like, I just am sick of her for right now. And so he says, these effing eyes that I'm staring at, and that's in reference to the prostitute. Let me see that ass, look at all this cash. And so and that's where we get the prostitute from, because we're, seeing sex for money. He emptied out his cards too, and so he's spending a ton of money on her. And then in the bridge, which we're just going to read the whole thing because it's very important. Bring your love, baby, I could bring my shame. Bring the drugs, baby, I could bring my pain. So that love is the sex. The drugs are just the drugs. And that's something that Weeknd's really well known for getting into. Quick reminder, I say this in all of my videos about The Weeknd. The Weeknd and Abel Tesfaye are not the same person. Abel Tesfaye is more mild than The Weeknd. It's just kind of a place where he works through some of these thoughts and ideas. Not that he isn't also possibly wild and addicted to drugs and things like that, but it is an important distinction. So he's bringing his shame and his pain to her and hoping that these two pleasures, drugs and sex, are going to help him ease those and forget about them momentarily or permanently. He's being very vulnerable. I got my heart right here. I got my scars right here. And so the ways that he's been hurt in the past, his vulnerability to being hurt in the future, his heart, he's opening them up to her, and he's going to see what she does. He tells her to bring the cups, probably alcohol. I could bring the drink, so he's going to fill the cups up. Bring your body, baby, I could bring you fame. So let's have sex, and I can share your Instagram pic or something like that with the world, and help make you famous because I'm famous. I've got these songs in this record deal. And he says, that's my mother effing words too. Like, I'm being honest with you, I am good for it. And he says, just let me mother effing love you. Now, the fact, this happened again in Starboy, where he says, I'm a mother effing Starboy. And I always get this feeling with The Weeknd when he says mother effing that he's being just a little bit sarcastic or a little bit unreliable about what he's about to say next. And we have this concept in literature, the concept of the unreliable narrator, the person telling us the story not quite knowing what's going on or lying to us. And here it's almost as if though he's lying to himself. He's not actually saying, please let me love you. He's saying, let me mother effing love you, like he's sardonic about it or angry about it, or he's like, let me just try this again. We're going to give it another shot. That's the feeling I get from it, but I'd be really curious to know what you guys think about his use of the word in that context. He's hanging out with this prostitute or stripper, and he's saying, like, let's have sex, let's have some drugs and some alcohol. I'm going to try to heal, let me love you. He's hoping that that love will help to heal his shame and pain. And then in the hook, he says, I'll give you all I got. So he's going to be vulnerable, and he's going to give her all he's got. Get me off of this. That could be a reference to the drugs or to the shame and pain. I need confidence in myself. So probably the shame and the pain. And he wants to feel whole. He wants to feel like he's a real person. He wants to feel like he's who he wants to be. All of this stuff. He says, I'll give you all of me. 2 lines later, so tell me you love me. That is how it's going to happen, is if he thinks that he can get her to fall in love with him, or if he can feel lovable because this woman is loving him, then he will feel more confident. Something like that seems to be where he's going with it. And I want to say that if Abel Tesfaye is not on drugs and alcohol and hasn't experienced all of these things himself, he is an absolute genius because he understands this dark side of human nature so well. My guess is that he's probably actually had a lot of experience with this kind of lifestyle. And so he's still awesome because he's being very vulnerable about that. And I think a lot of people listen to The Weeknd and they're like, man, I'm cool and I'm tough because I listen to The Weeknd. But a lot of The Weeknd songs are kind of him saying, I'm trying to be cool and tough, but I also am just scared and I am afraid and I am insecure, I have shame, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to keep pretending like I'm tough. That's a very important message to hear, and if you're not hearing that when you're listening to The Weeknd, you're only getting 5% of the good aspects of The Weeknd, and those 5% are really great, but I mean, go deeper. This is really interesting. So then he continues, only for tonight, so he doesn't need this love to be permanent, he just wants to feel like he can do it for one night. Like if he can pull this off for one night, he's somebody. He says, even though you don't love me. And he acknowledges that she doesn't love him, and so he says, you know, I want you to say that you love me, so at least fool me into thinking I've succeeded at this thing that's so important to me. He's so hopeless, so broken, that he will accept being fooled into thinking that he succeeded, as opposed to trying to go for the real thing. Remember, he left his baby, or his girl, back home, and he doesn't love her no more. And so maybe that was the real thing, maybe he wants to move on to something else, but he is just broken. Verse 2, he kind of mentions the alcohol or the drugs. He says, but I'm warning you, I'm on that shit that you can't smell, baby. So he's doing this all while perhaps a little bit mentally unstable. But I think that the fact that he's drinking and on drugs could mean that he has fewer personal inhibitions. And so the parts of him that are vulnerable and honest are maybe more likely to shine through. And I think we kind of see that here. My guess is that when he's more sure of himself and has those natural barriers up, he's probably going to come across as a little bit tougher, not talk about the vulnerable stuff. But with him being, you know, in this vulnerable state, both emotionally and perhaps mentally, we really learn a lot about who he is. And if we listen to it and ask ourselves, am I like that at all? We can learn a lot about who we are. Those are just my thoughts on Wicked Games by The Weeknd. I love the lyrics to this song. I think they're really, really interesting, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say about them yourselves. Don't forget to comment your theories and thoughts on this, and don't forget to comment a song by The Weeknd that we should explain next Weekend Wednesday. Top upvoted comment is probably going to be the one that we explain. So upvote comments of songs that you want to hear explained. Let's make this happen, people. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.